Hello, my name is Deborah Weinswig, and I'm very excited to be here today to talk about health and wellness and how we're seeing that really truly expand the beauty market. This has been a trend that we've been following for many years, but in 2020, this has gained renewed attention, not only from beauty retailers, but also from many of the manufacturers. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Coresight Research. I'm the founder and CEO. We were originally part of the Fung Group, and our roots are in Hong Kong. We have truly become a global organization looking at many of the aspects of retail, technology, and all with a philanthropic component. We recently hosted our own shopping festival called 1010 that ended up going global, really emanating from the US. And we saw a very significant beauty and health and wellness component as well. Much success, and we're just getting started there. It's a great example of how we work from a community perspective, the network effect, and truly our focus on innovation and disruption. Our heritage is truly rooted in research. These are just a few examples of some of the recent reports that we've written. We have a global research team. The report here in yellow is the 1010 Shopping Festival. We do a lot of deep dives on the beauty market, the health and wellness market, and everything in between. A great focus on innovation and truly, kind of the global market and what's happening around the world right now. This is our agenda. This is kind of, where we're going to go today and maybe everything in between. It's a very heavy data-driven deck presentation, and these slides are available to you and happy to talk to you offline as well to walk through some of the trends and the data. We'll kind of cover it in as much detail as we can in the time that we have. So first, we'll talk about the beauty markets in the US and China. 7 trends that we are seeing in health and wellness, and this is kind of right here, right now, and real time. And all of this was pulled together just for this presentation. And then 5 growth drivers of health and wellness and beauty. And we're really starting to look ahead to 21. We tend to, right, this is the time of year where all of us are making predictions, and we tend to push those a little bit later every year as everything is happening kind of more in real time. So as we're starting to look ahead to 21, these are our, I would say, preliminary thoughts. So as we're looking at, kind of some of the trends that we saw and have seen so far this year, right? I would say that the data suggests that while there was a bit of a pullback globally, it certainly was less than I think what many of us would have expected. And the global beauty market is expected to shrink by just 2% this year, and will rebound to pre-crisis levels in 21. Now, that's incredibly important if we think about spending on research and development and other areas as it relates to growth in this market and how companies are truly thinking about this. What we have seen on our end is as other categories of retail have been a bit more challenged, they are also now starting to look at this market and thinking about how they can become more of a lifestyle brand and can truly expand into more kind of beauty and also personal care. The idea is that this will, kind of help their, kind of share of wallet and also, their sales as they move forward into, kind of 2021. And, what we see here, which is also truly amazing, is the growth from both the US side and the China side, and what's expected over the next, let's say, 5 years. The Chinese beauty market is expected to grow this year, despite the pandemic. Much of that, in my opinion, is around a lot of the technology to deliver kind of the product to consumers, whether that's through live streaming or other means, gamification and personalization. And what we're also seeing is that the Chinese beauty market will overtake the US around 2022. That could certainly be earlier. And as we at Coresight work with many, let's call it companies in the West who are moving to the East, what we continue to see is just this kind of endless interest in terms of innovation and also, kind of what's new, what are my friends trying, what can, I have this, this challenge and this also endless, kind of research. And for the Chinese consumer to convert, this is something that we find those in the West are constantly perplexed by. It takes about 12 touch points to convert, whereas in the West, it's only about 4. So the Chinese consumer is much more well informed before they make a purchasing decision. And hence, and this is incredibly important, their likelihood of returning is also much lower. And so the gross margins on that product for a retailer or a brand are also significantly higher. And to really spell that out, the return rate by a Chinese consumer is 1/4 that of a consumer in the West. And this is an area we've seen a lot of focus on in 2020, and we believe we'll see even more so in 21. And these are just some, kind of more details, by month. And, this is real time. We just updated this morning, but it is really incredible just to see, kind of as we move through the pandemic, what we saw, and then also the, kind of the quick rebound, and just seeing, really truly how resilient the consumer has been. In the US, truly the beauty and personal care market handled the pandemic much better than most industries. And I would say that what we saw very early on was, KOLs, influencers, and there are many different names for what we want to kind of, this idea of, the key opinion customer, I think really started to evolve in the US. But as consumers couldn't get to their, kind of hair salon, they couldn't get to their, to get a facial and other kind of personal care, even to a dermatologist, they really took matters into their own hands. And the drugstore became a very important, kind of destination for beauty and personal care. We spoke to some of the largest drugstore retailers, and they couldn't keep, kind of items for manicures and, kind of anything hair dyeing, hair cutting. They couldn't keep those items in stock in the physical stores, and even had challenges online. And I think they, have even rethought their business models. And so we've certainly seen the beauty retailers, kind of really work closely with consumers and brands to deliver not only an in-store experience, but an online experience, and provide more intelligence to the consumer, especially around anything that is, skin tone related or skin care related, just to deliver this wonderful experience to the consumer, but with knowledge, and also with this idea of reducing returns. And what we've seen, which has been truly inspiring, is that there's many communities that have started to both formal and informal for customers to help other customers. And this also is not only during this environment, giving customers a sense of, I would say, inspiration, but also this idea of reducing returns, and also kind of driving the top line, which is probably even more important. These are just some of the differences that we see in terms of purchasing behavior, and certainly very interesting with regards to what people are buying, when they're buying it. We work very closely with the major platforms in China, as once again we're helping Western brands enter the China market. And it is fascinating the amount of data that's available to really drive true success, and also see the kind of the open space in the market in terms of demand. And so what we also see is this kind of success of new product launches in China is also very high, just from a kind of data-driven perspective. And as you can see from this presentation so far, we at Coresight are very data-driven, because we ultimately believe that will drive the best results. There's the aspect of inspiration and creativity, and it's sometimes you can't kind of really put that in in a construct. But from an AI perspective, this idea that we can utilize data to drive better outcomes as it relates to new product launches, we've seen that, certainly in the East, whether it's a 11 or a 618 or, kind of, 3/8 as it relates to International Women's Day, this idea of, utilizing data to have better outcomes is incredibly important. The data here is truly unbelievable in terms of, what we've seen with social commerce and how that's driving, growth. It's projected to be a $234 billion market in China this year. The U.S. social commerce market is still quite young. We have seen, platforms continue to develop, evolve. We actually spoke to a company called LiveScale yesterday. They said in the last year they've done kind of 500 live streams, but this is still very new. And not only is there a lack of training, right, for those who want to live stream, but there's still, there's a lack of platforms available. And I do think that there is probably a 10-year gap, truth be told, between the West and the East. And just even, I think, brands understanding, what the opportunity is, but then even, kind of how to appropriately approach that. And so it's all, it's all a significant opportunity. And what we find is that as brands have, found significant success in China, that information, that intelligence that they share back with, headquarters or their teams in the West has, kind of been this, inspiration to try live streaming and other forms of social commerce. I could talk about festivals all day long, especially as we're, coming upon 11. We have always felt that there was a significant amount of opportunity around International Women's Day. The data from this year in particular was truly impressive. And what we saw many of the brands offer, how they participated, what we saw from a live streaming perspective. Some of the data suggested that, kind of live stream sales were up over 700%. We still see, and I don't have the answers why, very little participation in the West and really very little awareness around International Women's Day. So once again, where we see brands participate and have a lot of success in the East, even those global brands don't often participate in the West. And it's not a, if you look on social media, I would implore you to do so. You'll find, at least historically, if we look at 2020, very little, even those brands I would consider to be much more female-oriented brands have really, I think, missed out. And I just think that there's this, this idea of, right, shopping festival and, there is a lot of opportunity. And I want to just kind of give you an example of what we at Coresight did this year. So understanding the supply chain constraints of what, the holiday season was going to present. So let's call it, truly the months of November and December. And we're already hearing from people who were ordering items for Halloween that there's been significant delays in shipping. We tried to pull forward the holiday season. And, we are a startup, we, we're a global startup, but, we really reached out to all of our partners and we brought on 100 retailers. We brought on 12 charity partners. And that was anyone from the St. Jude Children's Hospital to the American Heart Association to Breast Cancer Research Foundation. So we did this in the month of October, which is Breast Cancer, kind of Awareness Month. And then we had 12 supporting partners, and many of those were startups, just like ourselves. And we asked them to be a supporting partner to donate to charity to participate. And we ourselves, Coresight donated our time, our resources. We built a website. And what we saw, our technology partner was Shopkick. Week over week, the data showed that basically traffic was up to these sites and to these physical locations by over 70%, and conversion was up 38%. And this was, right, the first year we had a, kind of big media campaign our, I would say our strength is really much more B2B. So kind of the last week, it was, oh my goodness, what do we do from a B2C perspective? But we did our best right through whether it was TikTok or other kind of, B2C means. And we learned so much about what it means to connect with the consumer. And many of these companies that participated were beauty brands. And they were really excited and felt that they met many new customers and connected in new ways. And they're like, when are we doing this again? And I'm like, well, we've got to like sit back and kind of take a deep breath. But truly this kind of unbelievable opportunity to work together is significant, and kind of leads us into these 7 trends in health and wellness. We've seen the consumer really kind of take hold of their healthcare as they're thinking about how to be healthy in this environment, what that means. And I think there's a lot of knowledge searching and seeking, and in some cases, right, they don't know what it means. And I think that's where these kind of, whether it's a platform or a retailer, consumers are looking for data and information and products, right? So if I can, right, if I as a consumer, if one can go to a platform and kind of go through, right, what do I do for my sleep? How much sleep do I need? What are the sleep aids that I need? This is the change, I think, in the center of the circle, right? Consumers are equating, outside beauty with inner good health. And that I think is truly critical, kind of in this, environment. We've spent many years at Coresight, focused on the beauty industry. And what we've seen over time is this, kind of trend around clean beauty, what it means, how to communicate this to consumers, because it has become increasingly important. And these are 2 great examples, right? This is from August and from July of this, kind of sustainability, which, we have seen, kind of from a China perspective is, kind of pervasive in all that's done right now, right? Whether you're a retailer, a brand, whether you're a company like Coresight, what we do and how we do it and how we communicate everything, sustainability is top of our mind. And that, right, all of us working together will ultimately drive change. I do think it is, really an imperative for the brands to figure out how to communicate that, what they're doing, how they're measuring it, but keeping it, kind of very simple. And if you look at the data here, right, Gen Z consumers have spent, significantly more on clean beauty since the start of the pandemic. And I do believe that is because they have more time to do research. Sustainability has become much more important to the consumer and also to brands. At the beginning of 2020, there was this idea that it was, kind of sustainability for, kind of sustainability's sake. And as we've moved through and where we are now, right, it's this idea of sustainability for profitability's sake. And so that has, kind of continued to change and, has been very, critical. So number 2, the rise of consumer self-care treatments and self-sufficiency, right? This idea that, right, if I can't get to the store, what do I need to have on hand? And, you look at the data here, it is, around the skincare fridge is just, kind of one great example. And, I think, I know that many people have been receiving these as gifts, and they're like, what do I put in here, right? This whole idea of the, this idea that one can take care of oneself, that they, if their favorite salon is closed, that they are truly able to be a bit more self-reliant. And this idea, if you look at the data once again, the searches for skincare fridges was up over 100%, and face masks up over 25%. And we've seen, the sales have certainly supported that, and increasing, technology. Number 3, this, kind of growing public dialogue on mental health. And there is this, very significant connection between beauty and mental and emotional health. When we look good, we feel good. And this is, many of the brands and the influencers have talked about this and have been very open about this. And we feel that, this is at this moment increasingly important. And consumers will, kind of buy products that they feel resonate with them, right? That there's authenticity, and that, they'll also, right, be willing to purchase if there is some kind of charitable component as well. And this, we believe, is a trend that's, kind of just still very early. Sleep care, this is a trend that has, been important, continues to grow in importance, right? I will tell you, every day as I'm looking through social media or getting inbound emails or requests from people asking about CBD and sleep and how can I sleep better, right? I didn't have a good night's sleep. And, kind of what products can you recommend to me, right? As we work with many beauty brands. And so I certainly am always happy to make recommendations, but we are finding that I think there's so much on consumers' minds, right? People's schedules have been disrupted, and I think disrupted for longer than we would have expected. And it is amazing, right? All of these, not only from a product perspective, but also just from a routine perspective, what truly can help a consumer. And I think that, right, it used to be, right, I started off my career on Wall Street, right? It was like a badge of honor, right? The less sleep you got, right, you were like a warrior, and I think that's completely changed right now, right? This idea that, you've taken the time to get a good night's sleep, right? You care about your performance, and this whole conversation around sleep. So this is an important one. And then this is a very early conversation. We helped a very large company go to China, and what we were so surprised at the demand for nutritional supplements and the idea of, right, you take care of beauty from the inside out as a growing trend, and one that consumers were really searching, kind of for information. And it wasn't even just hair, it was also skincare and teeth and everything kind of in between. And so this to me has been I think this is still a market that has a significant amount of growth. And once again, it's all about educating the consumer. And, and talk about educating the consumer, the CBD market is one from a health and wellness perspective that is just getting started. We had the honor of emceeing, participating in a pitch fest for Double 11 with Alibaba with 9, let's just say, up and coming brands. And one of them is pictured here, which is Uncle Bud's. And it is a skincare brand. And, I think, we'll probably expand into other areas. But this idea that, consumers who have had skincare ailments and haven't been able to take care of them either through nutritional supplements or through products on the market have found relief in many of these, kind of CBD infused, kind of products. And so it truly is a market that is, growing exponentially. And, these numbers here that we've presented, they are most likely conservative. And we are finding that, there are many, private equity funds, venture capital funds. So there's a lot of money coming into this market at this point. So this is our last, this is a really interesting, kind of opportunity. And we are finding that the consumers are increasingly turning to IV drip treatments. We've spoken to many luxury companies who are thinking about offering these types of treatments in their stores, or, right, even somebody will kind of come to your home. But, this idea of, how to boost the immune system, metabolism, and everything in between, right, brighter skin. But that this is it can be an inexpensive or an expensive treatment. But that it goes back to the consumer being able to kind of take beauty into their own hands. And so we'll conclude with 5 kind of growth drivers, our predictions at this point in the game, right? This could all change in 24 hours, but how we're thinking about opportunities for the future. Certainly the 7 that we just covered have significant opportunity for growth ahead, but this is what we're kind of thinking about as we kind of move into 21. So this is kind of just a quick overview: live streaming, experiential e-commerce, festivals, brands reimagining, mashups. I love mashups. Anyone who follows me on LinkedIn, I try to post one a day. I'm not always able to, but I truly, if you want to know my passion, because I love collaboration. And once again, anything around collaboration with a charity component or sustainability component, even better. and then this idea of, right, how we are influencing each other. So you all recognize many of these influencers. We have started to work very closely with some of the, let's just say it, lesser known influencers, and they've had great success for some of the brands. And then for those of you who don't know Deal Moon, they've been helping some of our retailers who have had significant success in the East start to have similar success in the West with their brands. There are, some really interesting opportunities, I think, for CEOs to start to have and they're always quite, it's very cute. They're always very, I would say, shy. They're very humble, but this idea that they are, it's not even, they're beyond an influencer, right? They're this truly this KOL, right, for their brand. But talking about the heritage, especially if there's a heritage brand, right? These companies that are 100 years old, and how did the company start, and what makes the company special, and how do they embody the true heritage of the company, I think is really critical. And so the live streaming is certainly in the West, as I showed the numbers earlier, still just getting started. And we believe that anything around knowledge and tutorials and developing a relationship with a KOL is a huge opportunity for next year. And then anything experiential, what we're seeing is this idea, right? These virtual stores, right, have seen tremendous success even before the pandemic occurred. So this idea that, right, I'm traveling, or, and, I really want to shop at a certain store, and I want to feel, right, as opposed to a website, right, which is very 2D, and, I'm living in a very 2D world right now, but that I want to live in more of a 3D world. And right, the way that my brain works, at least, right, since I've spent most of my time shopping in physical, like I want to kind of look around the store, and I want to feel like I'm being, assisted, even if it's by a virtual sales assistant. And so what we've seen is these virtual stores have been, incredibly successful. Ulta has also done incredibly well, and they've been very, kind of forward thinking in terms of how they're looking at, kind of their mobile app. And then, some examples from the physical stores around kind of immersive and what we've seen. And then, I talked about festivals earlier. I am probably I talk about this every chance that I get, because I do think that in the West, there's still a lot of lack of understanding about, right, this festivization of retail, as they call it, or festivalization. And this idea that we, kind of all come together to just have fun, gamification, personalization, customization, right? This, kind of product that you can only get for a limited time, limited quantity, limited offer. It's a price, it's a package. And I think that just to have fun for fun's sake right now is more important than it's ever been. And, I would say that, we believe we'll see even more, kind of from a festival perspective, right? Alibaba is, kind of lengthening the Double 11 experience this year, right? They're doing more in terms of how they, kind of deliver, and truly making it like a global shopping festival. And we think we'll see even more when we turn to International Women's Day. And we're hoping that the West really starts to do more as it relates to these festivals, because we could all use it in terms of having something to celebrate, come together and share, right, like our experiences, because it's all about fun. And I think, my feeling is a holiday, right? Holidays can be, they can exclude people, but a festival is just for all of us to celebrate. And, we are seeing, this is just some of the, I think this data is, and I'll take a moment to pause here. We surveyed consumers around, if they were planning to shop this year's festivals, whether it was Amazon Prime Day, Target's Deal Days, Walmart, or the 10/10 Shopping Festival, which, mind you, we spent 6 weeks putting together. And, what was amazing to us is that the percentage of people who said that they either expected to purchase or browse, even for 10/10, was over 40%. And someone, even, I was so honored, somebody put together a 10/10 deals website. And I was like, that's how you've made it. And this idea that, as we look at what people plan to, we also surveyed what they plan to buy. One of the top three was beauty or personal care. And what we've always seen is electronics, right, is usually at the top because consumers are looking to get a great deal. And then this year, from a clothing and footwear perspective, we believe that the consumer had held back so much on those purchases. That was one of the reasons that was kind of a top category. And what this kind of idea of mashups, right? And so to us, this can mean so many things. Oftentimes it's a retailer coming together with a brand, or it's two brands coming together who you wouldn't have expected. And this is just kind of one great example. And we feel that this is always intriguing for a customer, right? They want to know kind of the story behind it. And there's truly this, and they want to share it and kind of discover it with their friends. Why we have really liked this idea around mashups is, right, if you're the first one to find it and discover it and buy it, right, then you're the lucky one who was able to kind of acquire the product, versus some of these drops that we see where there are a lot of technologies that the consumer has discovered and ways to kind of acquire the product. Once again, we like this idea of democratized ability to kind of buy product, and that's one of the reasons we like these mashups. And then what we're seeing is these micro influencers and key opinion customers becoming incredibly valuable and really a complement to the KOLs. And this as we go through and think about some of the kind of 7 trends in beauty, this idea that customers can help inform other customers, that the micro influencers can as well, because there's so many questions that we have right now, right? Sleep, what if I have this kind of skin challenge, right? What product do I use? And if we're not in stores, if we're not kind of engaging in ways that we had previously, or if we're just looking for more touch points to validate what others told us, this is why kind of these kind of consumers are even more important to us. The data here suggests, right, that these micro influencers are potentially even more important than the KOLs. And we feel that these communities are just beginning to get started. So I want to kind of sum everything up in terms of what we see is the key takeaways. Number one, beauty handled the pandemic better than most industries, really around the world. Number two, festivals, live streams, influencers of all sizes are truly incredible drivers of beauty sales. Number three, consumers are taking beauty, health, and wellness into their own hands. It is incredibly important, and knowledge seeking and sharing is, I think, where we are right now. Number four, consumers want products that make them feel good on the inside and out. And that we feel is a change, that this idea that you can kind of start to be beautiful from the inside and how you take care of yourself. And so whether that's supplements or whatnot, or getting a good night's sleep, there are other ways, and it does extend into, right, longevity and biohacking and many other topics that we didn't have time to talk about today that I'm truly passionate about. And then kind of this idea that products that were on the fringe, that maybe we all looked at like, oh, that's interesting, are becoming much more mainstream. And so I want to thank all of you for listening to us today, giving us the time. We have a free kind of research report that we send out every day. So please subscribe at Coresight.com. We want to thank you. And this is a topic we're truly passionate about. And we really love to bring people together into the beauty community, health and wellness. And we feel that there is significant market potential here. And in many cases, it's just a matter of all of us finding, kind of the right partner and the right collaborator to get started. So thank you for joining. Thank you for allowing me to share my passion with you, and hope to talk to you and see you soon.